winning tip. Now, guys, I am usually very against arena wedding proposals, but the producers put this forward as the best arena proposal ever.
Oh, she had no idea.
Right?
She ended up on her knee.
Creative.
Now, that's a good proposal.
You guys are in for this?
Oh yeah, that was creative.
Man, I don't ever need 20,000 people involved in something like that.
There was only like
Maybe that's just
18,000,
me.
Rach.
Like to share,
I'd
like to share, baby.
Share the love. Share the love. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. Our insider, Brian Windhorst, is here, alongside Tracy McGrady, Pro Basketball Hall of Famer, and now also Orlando Magic Hall of Famer since we last saw you. Congratulations.
That's an exclusive club. Penny, Shaq, Tracy.
And Pat Williams, yeah.
There you go.
Founder.
Boom. Houston Rockets, you're up. Just saying. So, Markelle Fultz is back, and usually that would mean we would finally have the answers to all of our questions. And let's be honest, there have been a lot of questions, like how does someone talented enough, dedicated enough, competitive enough to become the #1 overall pick in the NBA draft, a combination of skill and work ethic that by definition is extremely rare, just suddenly stop being able to shoot a basketball? Was it an injury that was really to blame? Did an injury create a confidence issue, and then that was to blame? And what finally worked to fix it? Yeah, we still don't know any of that because Markelle Fultz didn't want to talk about it last night. And honestly, I don't really blame him. I mean, sure, I am still very curious, but everyone has already had months to pore over all that iPhone video of Fultz shooting in practice gyms across America. Instead, finally, last night, there was actual game footage to talk about. So let's talk about it because, boy, was it fun. Right from the start, the standing ovation Fultz got when he checked into the game, it was just great. I mean, Philadelphia fans get a pretty bad rap, right? They have thrown batteries at their own football team. But the loyalty and patience Sixers fans have shown over the past 4 or 5 years has been pretty extraordinary. And they continued to cheer for Fultz even after he turned the ball over on his first touch. They went absolutely crazy when he drove to the basket for his first points in 154 days. And hey, do you see the little nifty behind the back pass to Joel Embiid? Not bad for a guy who hasn't had time to build chemistry with his teammates. Now, there were certainly issues too. Fultz's first jumper was an air ball. And even though he'd hit a few later in the game, he was never tested at the free throw line or behind the arc. He also made some rookie mistakes in judgment that were exactly what you'd expect from a rookie. But it's important to note that even after those plays, he remained aggressive. If indeed there was a mental aspect to this long hiatus that he's been on, he seems to have addressed it. And that is frankly all anyone can ask for. It's very good news for Sixers fans who have stopped just dreaming of making the playoffs, but now of making a real run through the Eastern Conference bracket that could be setting up for them. Philadelphia is just a game behind Cleveland for this 3 spot. And take a look at this. The Sixers have the easiest schedule in the league going forward, compared to the Cavs, who still have 5 games left against winning teams. So what if Philadelphia gets the 3 seed? And chalk holds enough for them to have a second-round date with an injury-depleted Celtics team. Are the Sixers suddenly in the conference finals? It's a long way from here to there, but it's a fun question for fans to get to even ask. And considering all the other questions he's had to work through, it's much-deserved fun for Markelle Fultz, most of all. So, Tracy, what grade do you give Fultz in his return to action last night?
I give him a B, considering what he's been through his first year. And I'm sure at some point in time he started to lose his confidence. The game last night with 10 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. When the anticipation builds up like that, it's either going to go really bad or you're going to have a decent game like this. And, you know, I think the adrenaline was there. He was really looking forward to this. I'm curious to see, because it's going to wear off at some point and then, you know, reality is going to set in. I'm curious to see how he's going to play when all this adrenaline is gone and no more of the hype is there. The anticipation is gone and it's just, you know, game after game. How you're going to approach that, how you're going to play. But considering that it was a playoff team that he did this against, because Denver is fighting for a playoff seed, and it was his first NBA game, I thought he did well.
I know that it came out of the blue that they decided to play him.
I mean, he did have those 4 games, I guess, at the beginning of the season. How many did he have?
Yeah,
but doesn't feel like it counted at all.
I thought this was actually kind of brilliant to bring him back in this game. First off, yes, the Nuggets are a playoff-style team, but they are one of the worst defensive teams in the league, so you're not going to exactly face them the toughest defense. Secondly, I feel like after they made the playoffs, they qualified for the playoffs the day before, I feel like it was sort of a stress-free game. Obviously, they're still competing for seeding, as you mentioned, Rach, but I felt like they could all really concentrate on taking care of it, and they did. One of the things that this game taught me, not only you talked about his confidence going to the basket, it showed me how much his teammates care about him, because they really wanted to make sure he was taken care of in the game. And Tracy, you are right. And the next time they play, the Knicks tomorrow night, the Knicks are going to back off of him. He's going to be in the scouting report. The Nuggets didn't have a scouting report for him. Eventually, the two guys that they drafted #1 overall, it's going to have to be addressed, and one of them can shoot from the outside, Ben Simmons and Fultz. So we still got a lot of things to do, but for last night, I was pretty impressed, and I found myself smiling watching this game because I was happy. I don't know Markelle. I don't have any skin in the game. I found myself happy for him because we know what he's gone through.
He came on the show. He was absolutely charming. He was a lot of fun here. And what you say about the teammates is so important, because we've talked about that a few times throughout the season. That has been the tip-off for me. The fact that his teammates have so adamantly defended him against sort of the outside slings and arrows. I was like, well, that's kind of all I need to know.
That's it.
Right?
That's it. As a player, if your teammates have your back and no one is chirping inside that locker room about the things that are being said, then, you should feel good. That gives you confidence moving forward that you belong in that locker room.
Tweets started coming out of the Sixers locker room within like 3 minutes after the game. The players got in there, got their phones out, and were immediately congratulating.
Absolutely. Donovan Mitchell from Utah was throwing his support to his friend as well. It was nice. It was nice to see the fans there so supportive. A lot of people around the league want a lot of good things for this kid. It was a great start. Now, it was interesting in the locker room after the game, because even as like a positive story, people want to know, great, what was the comeback? How did you do it? How did you fix what was going on with your shoulder? Here was his answer, or not answer. Take a listen.
Markelle, did you do something to your shoulder, or did you just start feeling soreness all of a sudden?
When you played the Kevin?
Sorry, you can ask. Go ahead, next question.
Is there a reason that you don't want to talk about the injury specifically?
Is there a point in overturn where you had to decide what you were going to do in order to get ready for the playoffs?
Just work hard. I mean, I had to feel comfortable. That's the biggest thing. Nobody wants to be out there uncomfortable. So just had to get comfortable with myself, and it happened. So.
As a professional question asker, how do you feel about this?
Well, I would have preferred he didn't just stonewall, because
Right.
I don't think that's helpful. I would prefer him just give a non-answer. But obviously, this is a sensitive situation. He's
young.
Very sensitive about it. One of the things I sense sometimes with people, and the media are guilty of this, is when there's an injury, it feels like there's an attempt to blame somebody. It's not his fault that his shot went haywire. It's not his fault that he had some shoulder injury. However the shoulder injury, however it was hurt, really not relevant. The Sixers didn't wish this upon them. Nobody wished it upon him. This was a circumstance that nobody can really get their arms around, and they don't have a good explanation for it. Just like I don't have a great question to ask him about what happened, he doesn't have a great answer. So we got to focus on.
I mean, my thing is, I thought the PR guy should have did a better job of preparing him, because he knows those questions are going to come.
Yeah.
Those questions are going to come regardless if he wanted them or not. And I thought they should have did a better job of prepping him, giving him some, some sound bite to give back to the reporters, instead of just sitting there and not answering the question at all. Like, that wasn't a good look. However, I wouldn't want to talk about this. I want to move forward. There was a dark time in my early career, and it's just something that I leave in the past, and I'm looking forward to what's to come.
All right, I didn't ask you this before the show, so I'm just going to ask you it on live television. Can we go a little Professor Tracy for a minute and explain to young athletes out there, when you're dealing with the media and they're asking you difficult questions, how much does it pay off? Because it's hard, I think, for young guys to learn. How much does it pay off if you sort of joke around and make light and sort of comfortable? How big a difference does that make?
It's a great deal, because now you get the reporters to tend to side with you sometimes when there are difficult times. They won't ask you those difficult questions and kind of side with you. And knowing that you're going through a rough patch, they won't go there at the time. Maybe you can get an exclusive or something like that, but you know, you don't want to come off like that.
The other issue is he hadn't been giving interviews during his
Right, so
recovery
he's not used-
process.
right, that's why he needs Professor Tracy.
Right. So there wasn't the rapport built up. They didn't have that. But, you know, look, there's not a roadmap for dealing with this type of injury.
No, it's not.
And I think that's pretty clear.
No, see, you teach the young ones every day, Tracy
That's
McGrady.
right.
There we go. Coming up, how much did the Wolves' loss to the Grizzlies jeopardize their postseason hopes? I can't believe we're having this conversation. It is
Neither
a good
can
one. Distant replay is from this date in 2007. Gilbert Arenas.
Arenas breaks out. Williams
He was in
on
his
him.
prime back
8
then.
seconds,
Hero,
down to
baby.
7. Will make his move with 5. Down to 4.
That old Wizards
Takes the
logo, too,
glass
right?
with 3.
And he put his
To
hands
2.
up, just
For the
walked
win.
back. Oh, this is good.
And another
What?
game
He just walked off. Oh, I know it's good.
Yep.
The Jump.